Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I'm Debashis Basu. First, it was the shadow banning of exports of rare earths which panicked Indian electric vehicle manufacturers. Now comes the Chinese halt of specialized fertilizers. A German tunnel boring machine bound for India is reportedly stuck in China awaiting export clearance. What next? Well, India is a drug manufacturing giant, but it imports 80% of key starter materials from China. What if that is choked? China needs nothing critical from India. India needs $115 billion worth of goods every year from China to keep various parts of its economy going. All those who are advocating that manufacturing is less relevant to nation building in a globalized economy need to offer an answer to the chokehold China has come to acquire. The answer, of course, is more local manufacturing, especially of critical items, which should come as a surprise. Why? Because 40 years ago, the dominant economic prescription was a heady cocktail of free market principles: open competition, minimal government, low tariff barriers, and financial liberalization. This marked a decisive triumph of free market ideology over state led planning. Well, the economic thinking appears to have come full circle. Tariff barriers are up, and government intervention is strongly shaping up economic forces. The US President Donald Trump wants to reshore steel making to electronics to drug production. Earlier, Joe Biden doubled down with vast subsidies for semiconductors and green technologies. Britain is discussing subsidizing energy bills of manufacturers, while India has been offering incentives to boost local manufacturing in 17 sectors. Indonesia is mandating local content, as they call it, in foreign investments in manufacturing. With vast reserves of nickel, it aspires to be an electrical vehicle powerhouse. The idea of industrial policy once evoked memories of state inefficiency and rent seeking. Between 1950s and 70s, India's industrial policy was a mix of price controls, licensing, import restrictions, and public sector dominance, a model that stifled entrepreneurship and fostered inefficiencies and propped up inefficient and corrupt state enterprises that drained public money. So, how is it that industrial policy and its core component manufacturing are back as preferred growth engines? The answer is China. Missed the lessons of how sensible industrial policies can transform a nation? Japan before World War IIs and World Wars, and Taiwan and South Korea later? Well, in that case, China has provided a dazzling masterclass how to formulate and implement long-term industrial policy under which the country has come to control 32% of global manufacturing, making even the mightiest of nations vulnerable to its manufacturing prowess. Where does India fit into these trends? Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Make in India campaign promised to raise the share of manufacturing in GDP from 15% in 2014 to 25% by 2025, with an eye on job creation and export growth. But apart from promotional slogans and roadshows, little of substance followed. A more structured attempt came 6 years later, that is in March 2020, when India launched the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, as it's called, for 3 sectors, which was later expanded to another 14. The idea was to scale up domestic manufacturing capability to 30 lakh crores, substitute imports, while also create 60 lakh new jobs. The PLI scheme has created some success in mobile phone assembly and pharma ingredients, yet domestic value addition remains very low. Key components are still imported, while India is talking about large-scale phone exports, mobile phone exports. The fact is that a lot of those components come from China, and China can easily choke off that great success we are tom-tomming. In January 2024, a government release claimed 678,000 new jobs only have been created under the scheme, a drop in a country where over 10 million youth or 1 crore people enter the labor market annually. The manufacturing share of GDP has in fact slipped from 15.44% to 14.3% in 2025. A Reuters investigation citing internal government documents noted that by October 2024, less than 8% of the allocated funds for PLI had been disbursed. Two-thirds of the scheme's targets had been missed. What happened? PLI puts the cart before the horse. The horse in this case is the quality of education, research, enormous frictional cost of doing business comprising logistics, energy, taxes, cess, bribes, state and central laws, and red tape. You can pump in more and more money as incentives, but if all of these foundational changes do not happen, well, the outcome is not likely to be what you expect. This is why even labor-intensive sectors like leather garments, handicrafts, and jewelry have failed to scale up. PLI is a useful reminder that shortcuts won't build industrial capability. A genuine manufacturing ecosystem takes years of foundational reform. India's efforts to build this foundation have been sporadic at best. In mid 2000s, the Congress-led government had tried to emulate the export-led success of countries like Thailand and Malaysia by promoting special economic zones. But the initiative devolved into corruption, controversy, scandal, and ultimately fizzled out. It had included gems such as 1,000-acre land allotted near Nagpur to now fugitive businessman called Mehul Choksi. India has never tried to reduce logistics costs systematically until October 2021 when the Gati Shakti project was launched. It aims to reduce logistics costs currently 13 to 14% of GDP compared to 8 to 10% in China and enhance connectivity to economic zones. We'll wait and see whether these objectives are likely to be met. Had manufacturing taken off, it could have addressed India's twin challenges of joblessness and poverty. Unlike services, manufacturing can absorb large pools of unskilled and semi skilled labor. But instead of building that base, the government has focused on numerous cash transfers and welfare schemes. While these schemes may prevent unrest and yield political dividends, they also dull the incentive to work, especially in rural India. Employees in the manufacturing sector routinely report a shortage of willing labor despite high unemployment. India's demographic dividend is fast turning into a demographic liability. The small scale sector, which employs the overwhelming majority of workers, is struggling in a stifling and creaking ecosystem. Any industrial policy is as good as how it is applied on the ground, and the other reforms that simultaneously support it. This was as true 40 years ago as it is now. If you like this, please do share and do subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.